Let's do it.
Hey, everybody, it's your host, Felipe, and you're listening to the Total Basis Podcast. And with me, as always, is one Austin Spiro. Austin, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. It was a good Christmas. How was yours?
It was fantastic. I got to see the baby opening up her presents. She's getting good at it, at this opening presents. I think she's finally getting the idea that maybe once a year, she is supposed to be getting new stuff. So... Yeah. But she doesn't care about the stuff. She only cares about the packaging of the stuff. So boxes were a big hit. Wrapping paper was a big hit. Plastic bottles were a big hit. So
that'll happen for a while. Throw the toy to the side and play with the box.
So yeah, that's we're at that stage of the development there, but it's pretty cool. I did get her a piano. I sent you a video of her playing with a little piano. She absolutely loved it. Yeah,
looked like it.
Yeah, so at least she now is getting the idea. Oh, I'm supposed to interact and play with these toys. So yeah. But this is the Christmas edition of the Total Basis Podcast. We had to reschedule because I wanted to get this done before Christmas, and due to my illness and just the stress of the holiday, I couldn't make it. So I thank Austin for hanging in there with me. But now that the festivities are over, we can go back and concentrate and finally end this year. I've been trying to end it for a while now, but we can finally end season 2 of the Total Basis Podcast. What was your favorite moment of the season 2 Total Basis Podcast?
Honestly, I think it was being able to be on here more and helping grow my understanding of baseball and the analytics around it, and just improve my methodology of, judging players and being able to judge performance overall. I've enjoyed being on here.
My favorite moments was being proven right about Nick Madrigal and Kevin Gossman. That's all that matters, man.
How did I know you were going to say that?
It's victory lap time, man. This is why I have this platform and you people don't. Sorry. Get your own damn podcast, but don't air it here because we won't allow it. There's only 3 podcasts that are allowed in this place. It's the Round Trippers podcast, it's the Total Basis podcast, and Dong City. And when I say here, I meant for those who are listening to audio only, we are live at the Baseball Life Facebook group. Come join us. We are 8,000 strong, baseball fanatics. I just was able to post a little something before the Christmas break. It was what player would you have wanted for him to stay healthy for the entirety of his career, or something to that effect? Got a lot of people saying Ken Griffey Jr. I ended up gravitating towards the pitchers. I don't know why, but the starting pitchers, like I was gonna put Carrie Wood, but Carrie Wood had a pretty decent career. I mean, he even turned into a closer. Mark Pryor, well, whatever, I don't want to talk about that. But my guy was Brandon Webb, and it was mostly because of fantasy baseball purposes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember who Brandon Webb was, but he was a Cy Young winner in the mid 2000s. Fantastic sinker, just a complete pitcher, just nothing but productive in Arizona. And then the shoulder injuries came, and they just couldn't put him together again, and that was unfortunate. He tried to come back with the Texas Power Rangers in 2011 or so. And imagine that. Can you imagine Brandon Webb coming back into the pitcher that he used to be, or close to it, and helping that team win a World Series, perhaps?
That would have been awesome.
Well, it wasn't meant to be. And then the other guy that I mentioned was Herb Score. After, I saw someone mention Tony C from the Boston Red Sox. I always forget his name because it's Italian, Consigliari or some crap like that. I don't know.
Canigliario.
I was way off. Tony Canigliario. Tony Canigliario of the Mario Brothers. He's a plumber too when he's not playing baseball. But no, that was someone mentioned that, like, oh well, I don't know how much you remember that story, but his career was lost because of an eye injury. Someone hit him right in the face with a pitch. And I remember the opposite effect happened. I believe it was Gil McDougall of the New York Yankees who hit a line drive right back to the pitcher. That pitcher was Herb Score of the I believe he was playing for the Cleveland Guardians at the time. also known as the Cleveland Guardians back in the 50s or 60s or whatever that. I think it was the 50s.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know that, right? That once you change your name, that's it. You can't ever go back to the old name. So they were the Guardians then, and they're the Guardians now, and they're going to be the Guardians forever until they change their name for like the 20th time in their franchise history. But yeah, Herb Score is the other one. Almost, I don't know if he lost his vision or not, but yeah, I just remember seeing pictures of a nasty black guy, and it's kind of similar to Tony C. But at that time, Herb Score was kind of revolutionizing the game with the ability to just strike out a bunch of pitchers, a bunch of hitters at a very high rate. But back then, it wasn't about striking out guys; it was just getting the guys to make soft contact and lots of fly ball outs because the outfields were much bigger.
Right.
And Herb Score, he didn't give a damn. He just was striking out everybody. The only other pitcher who was coming close to him was Whitey Ford, and he couldn't keep up with them. Everybody else, if you ever look at 1950s baseball, it's a bunch of strikeouts per 9 of like 4, maybe some 5s per 9 inning. And Herb Score and Whitey Ford were doing way like above 7s. And, they lost one in Herb Score. So who knows if he would have stayed healthy, how he would have impacted the game a lot sooner than later, instead of having to wait until Sandy Koufax and Bob Gibson to do it in the 60s. What was your player?
I didn't put one in the post. I did see the post. I didn't put one in the post, but I did see one that I agreed with. I believe Vince put it in there, and it's kind of a different spin because it wasn't really injuries that ended his career. It was the death of Jose Fernandez.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
I thought Jose Fernandez was a really good choice. That guy had a lot of movement on his pitches, and he was getting ready to dominate and probably be one of the best. If he were alive today, we would probably be talking to about him as probably the ace of the MLB. He would be in the land of Max Scherzer and all those. So it was very tragic, his death. But the other one that I was thinking, and it might be a little bit of a different spin because he did have a good career, but his career was shortened because of injuries, was Prince Fielder. I thought, he's on the Hall of Fame ballot this year. And I think if he played a little longer and didn't have the or the career ending injury and some of the other injuries that he had, and he played a little bit longer, I think he could have been a Hall of Famer. Right now, he had a good career. So mine would have been Prince Fielder and Jose Fernandez.
A lot of guys pick Ken Griffey Jr. for some reason. He hit over 600 home runs. I know that his career would have been a lot more grandiose had he stayed healthy, but he played a very long time. He played until he was 40 years old. And I
didn't particularly agree with Ken Griffey.
I don't like that at all.
He had a lot of injuries, but it didn't seem to affect his career to the point where, he was a first ballot Hall of Famer. So
I wish he would have stayed healthy. He makes the Hall of Fame anyway. Like that. I don't know. When people ask that question, if you could see one player stay healthy for the entirety of his career, I don't know. I think of guys who didn't quite make it like consistently on a big league roster.
Yeah.
Guys who couldn't stay healthy and all the untapped potential was never met. That's one thing. Ken Griffey was the face of baseball, and you can argue that he's still the face of baseball.
Yeah.
What more do you want?
They're still making Ken Griffey merchandise.
And it sells like hotcakes and to us millennials and stuff. So we're buying it like it's going out of style soon. And it doesn't go out of style. And he impacted the game both. You talk about fashion. People now wear backwards hats, and it's now more universally accepted. It's people like me now who they have a problem with because they can't seem to have the logo facing forward as I adjust my hat. Although I'm wearing a beanie though. Huh? What'd you say?
When I was playing ball, it was very much you were not allowed to wear your hat backwards on the field. If you wore your hat backwards, my coaches would chew me out. I never even thought about wearing my hat backwards because they were so old school. That's why I remember some of the first images of Ken Griffey Jr. that I saw, his hat was backwards. I was like, you can do that? I didn't know you could do that. Like, what? So yeah, no, Ken Griffey Jr. He had a lot of injuries, and he probably would have, hit more homers and things like that. But with all those injuries, you're a first ballot Hall of Famer. It didn't really affect it all that much. That's why I said people like Prince Fielder. Because I think if Prince Fielder didn't have all the injuries that he had, he probably would have a pretty good shot at being in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, we'll never know. But he did have a pretty good career himself. It just wasn't that, from point A to point B type of career. I mean, at least Griffey was able to accomplish so much. And I get the argument. He accomplished so much. I just don't see it. Yeah. And even the Cub fans who were saying Carrie Wood, like, come on, man, Carrie Wood left and then he came back and he became a bullpen arm. I mean, he had a pretty long career. I mean, I feel like he pitched more than 10 years in this league. And maybe I'll accept Mark Pryor. I love the Jose Fernandez one. I just tagged you in a post about some of the numbers where he left off in terms of rankings. And by the way, good morning, Melvin. Melvin must have heard us talking about him. Melvin, go ahead and plug your stuff as always and let us know. Give us some more updates, man. I've been looking forward to those. See what's going on, because there's some baseball going on right now. It's just not Major League Baseball because of the lockout. So let's see. And I wish I could find that post so we can maybe mention some names, but I could not believe that a lot of them were Ken Griffey Jr. Just everywhere. Ken Griffey Jr. And I get it. It's a generational thing, but come on, man, be a little bit more creative, I think. You know what? There is a post. There was a post about Herb's score that who posted this one? This is from a while back ago. I'm going to tag you in that one as well.
Carrie Wood played 14 years.
Oh my God.
There was really, I'm looking at it, there are really only 2 years where you can see a significant drop in games. In 99, the year after his rookie year, he didn't pitch at all because he was injured.
Tommy John, yeah.
In 2006, he only pitched in 4 games. But the rest of them, 1998, 26 games, 2000, 23 games, 2001, 28, 02, 33. It looks more like that. And then you get down to 08. His second All-Star season, 65 games. That's when he started being a relief pitcher. 09, 58, 2010, 47. And then, of course, you're getting down to 2010. He still pitched 47 games.
Yeah.
23 with the Indians and 24 with the Yankees. And then you went back to the Cubs, pitched 55 games. And then 2012, it was 10 games. But, I mean, even then, it didn't even look like for Carrie Wood that the injuries really knocked out his games or, the amount of games that he played.
I mean, the only thing that you could argue is that it turned him from a starting pitcher to a relief pitcher because he just couldn't withstand. But, things that Cub fans don't want to hear, he never was able to figure out his control issues. He had the worst control from a pitcher of his caliber and talent that you'll ever see. Like his stuff was unhittable, but after a while, after the third or fourth inning, so like the second or third time through the lineup, hitters they figured out like, hey, if we just hold off on a little bit and gas him up, and that's the other thing it took him a while to realize that he's a baseball, and that means that he's an athlete and he needs to take care of his body like Nolan Ryan and Roger Clemens used to, although Roger Clemens used to, right? Yeah. But no, it took him a long time for him to realize, hey, I need to take better care of myself. I need to stop eating cheeseburgers and eat more veggie burgers. I don't know, just a horrible analogy, but you get the drift.
Yeah. 2007 was the first year that he was a relief pitcher. 4 years before that, so it wasn't very long removed, was his first All-Star season in 2003, where he led the league in strikeouts, hit by pitches,
control problems,
and strikeouts per 9. So he led the league and stuff 4 years prior. So it wasn't like he was on a downward trend. He was still doing pretty good. It was just, they found out he was probably a better bullpen guy, which he was. The next year, 2008, was his next All-Star season. He had 34 saves and pitched to a 3.26 ERA.
Yeah. So, I mean, you didn't see Carrie Wood, the starting pitcher, but even, you know what, man, now that you're mentioning it, when I was growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s, a lot of newspapers here locally were writing about, hey, if this Carrie Wood as a starting pitcher doesn't work out for whatever reason, you can always put him as a closer. And the one guy literally had a headline, I believe it was for the Chicago Tribune, had a headline of Carrie the closer, and both Carrie and closer are spelled with a K. So So no, I don't like that one. I'll give you Mark Pryor. I mean, that's fine. Although Mark Pryor, Mark Pryor is I don't know. I don't want to get into it because then they're talking about steroids and all that and PEDs, and that's one that maybe he might have been doing something that he shouldn't have been doing. But that Mark Pryor, remember, he went in the Joe Mauer draft, and the reason that the Twins went with Joe Mauer wasn't just because it was local, but because they can afford him, and they were afraid that Mark Pryor was going to come with a really high price tag. And at that time, we were like, man, the poor Minnesota Twins, they let go of an ace pitcher because they're cheap. And it turns out that they made the right choice because Mauer would finish his career with the Twins, and Pryor would just kind of disappear after showing so much promise. Yeah, showed so much promise, and currently he's I believe he's a pitching coach. I forget for what team, but I believe he's a pitching coach for a Major League Baseball team. Let's see, Ben Sheets from my guy Leon from the Step Back podcast. Ben Sheets, when he said that, oh, he's with the Dodgers. Okay, well, I should have known. We see that team all the time. Ben Sheets was one that he picked. I kind of like that one because, and this, Ben Sheets, Brandon Webb, Carrie Wood, Mark Pryor. That's right in that sweet spot of early 2000s fantasy baseball for me. These are all pitchers that I coveted and targeted back in the day. I used to love Ben Sheets, man. But every time you pick Ben Sheets, he just couldn't stay healthy to save his life, it seemed like. And that's a good one. The Yankee fans came up with Don Mattingly. Although Donnie Baseball, I feel like he was that he played for a long time, but they're swearing that injuries curtailed his career. What do you think about Don Mattingly being added to this list?
I think that's a good ad. I'm not necessarily sure. Again, I didn't watch Don Mattingly play, so I don't know if it was necessarily injuries or he just was one of those that people thought he was a better baseball player than he actually was. I don't know. I think if it was truly injuries, I feel like Donnie Baseball could be a good add to the list, but I can't really speak to because I didn't watch him play, so I don't know.
Bo Jackson in here too.
Oh, Bo Jackson.
That's a good one. Yeah,
that's a good one.
Joe Mauer. We just talked about Joe Mauer. He's included. But concussions kind of ruined his career.
But he made the move from catcher to first base. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. The one, I'm not sure if it's injuries. I don't think it's injuries, but the one guy that I was just thinking, because I don't know why you mentioned Ben Sheets and it made me think of this guy, that I thought he was a better pitcher than statistically he actually was Kevin Millwood.
Yeah, I could see that. I think Kevin Millwood was someone who was negatively affected by the PED users who were that were just clobbering the ball at that time, and otherwise, he showed some promise, and then he pitched for a long time, I believe. I mean,
he pitched for 16 years.
Oh, poor Kevin Millwood. So he didn't get the production that he wanted, or that we were all expecting, because he put up some numbers for the Atlanta Braves for a while, but then he survived. He lasted 16 years. He just knew how to pitch. He kept improving on his craft, something that it seems like pitchers nowadays are not allowed to do if they want to survive long in this league, because it's all about velocity. Another guy's Josh Hamilton showed up. That's a pretty good one. Injuries, because you could argue injuries, but
but I think it was more the fact that he couldn't stay away from the needle.
The needle, the drugs, all of that. Leon did mention Prince Fielder. Mickey Mantle, that doesn't make any sense. He's a Hall of Fame player. I know he was always injured for sure.
Players to ever play the MLB. How in the world is he even mentioned in this list?
Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame. He's probably, I think he still leads he leads Major League Baseball all time as the most home runs by a switch hitter, I believe, if that's correct. One of the most beloved figures. The only negative thing you could say that he had an issue with alcohol, and even then, he lived a much longer life than any of us, than even he expected. He thought he was going to die at the age of 40 or maybe even 30, just like his male figures of his life did, because they were all coal miners at that time. And Lenny Dykstra, come on, man, Lenny Dykstra. But anyway, we can go on forever, but we're here to talk about outfielders. We got a little distracted there. That's okay.
Mickey
So
Mantle, speaking of outfielders.
yeah, speaking of that, that's a good segue. So Mickey Mantle, what's his face? We're gonna talk about some outfielders, some modern day outfielders. So we say good morning to Chris and Michael. They're listening and watching us make jackasses of ourselves right now. But we're trying to figure out, we're back doing Tristan Cockcroft's list, which now seems to be a little bit outdated, even after a month after he posted it. But we chose that one because it's ESPN. It's the worldwide leader. And it was the one that was a pretty substantial list of position players that he was ranking. So when I see a more substantial list or a more updated list for next year, we'll use that one for pitchers. And as I was telling you off the air, Austin, is that pitchers, that one's you're gonna see a lot of movement with both relief pitchers and starting pitchers. So we're gonna hold off a little bit on tackling those rankings. But in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and use Tristan Cockcroft's published rankings from November 30th to discuss the rest of these outfielders. And we're going to go in 15 outfield increments. So we're going to, for the first few increments, we're going to pick a bust and a sleeper. So let's start with you, Austin. Your first bust, the number 9 ranked Luis Robert. And you're going to be attacked by a bunch of sensitive, disgruntled White Sox fans. So get ready. But go ahead. Why do you pick Luis Robert as a bust?
So I think this is more narrative based, I guess you want to say. And it's more Luis Robert was marketed as coming up and being being right alongside Jose Abreu as the main offensive, juggernaut in this White Sox lineup. And to me, he hasn't proven that he can do that. He hasn't proven that he can stay on the field, and he hasn't proven to me that he can produce. And so as a fantasy baseball owner, fantasy baseball, getting ready to do, some drafts, I am not touching, Luis Robert. Yeah, Luis Robert has, some pretty good counting stats. I think he had a pretty decent slash line for, last year, but I don't know, something. This is just a gut feeling of mine. I don't feel like Luis Robert is going to. I don't think he's worth the number 9 spot. That's first round to me. That's like late first round, early second round. I'm not going to pick up Luis Robert around that time. That's just me.
Not just that. That's your anchor for your outfielder.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I can think of a number of other outfielders that I could have as my anchor before Luis Robert. Luis Robert is more of a, second, third outfielder, maybe even my first bench guy. You know what I mean? I'm not going to draft him as my first anchor outfielder. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, he does come with a lot of hype. He does come with, and that's part of the price tag on him, being number 9. I'm surprised he's not ranked higher. To be honest, let's see who is ranked ahead of Luis Robert, just out of curiosity, according to Tristan Cockcroft. So we got Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis, who qualifies at outfield, Ronald Acuna, who's coming back from a knee injury, Bryce Harper, who's your MVP, Mookie Betts, it's a really good bounce back candidate because he kind of disappointed last year, Mike Trout, who was out for a very long, substantial amount of time, Kyle Tucker, Starling Marte, Luis Robert. I mean, I can argue that from an upside standpoint. I know it'd be a heck of an argument, but I could probably argue Luis Robert to be as high as like number 7, maybe even I don't know who you would take out from the top 6, but at least number 7, it might be a better spot for Luis Robert just because of upside alone. I know that you're not seeing it because he can't stay healthy, but when he is healthy, I mean, I had him last year, okay, and it wasn't fair. I had so many good players, and then Luis Robert was out for a long time, and then I get Luis Robert back, and I just like start beating the crap out of people. Unfortunately, I didn't win the championship, but I did have a very successful regular season. So I can only imagine what's going to happen when he actually stays healthy. But because he does have the tools, and he's little by little learning how to lay off of pitches that he shouldn't be swinging. That's the one thing, the one danger that you do have for Luis Robert is that he will hack and look foolish up there when it comes to plate approach. But he has shown in the minors that he can improve a little by little. So hopefully 2022, he can stay healthy. But yeah, otherwise, if he can't stay healthy, we're just basically talking about another Byron Buxton here.
Yeah. And, to be fair, I will say now that I'm looking at his 2021, his slash line was 338, 378, 567 for an OPS plus of 155. But that's only in 68 games.
Sample size issues. Yeah.
The sample size is really, really small. So, compared to last year, 2020, in 56 games, he only had an OPS plus of 100 with a slash line of 233, 302, and 436. So which Luis Robert are we going to get, and how long are you going to get him for?
Well, somewhere in the middle, according to Steamer projections, 30 home runs, 14 stolen bases, improved strikeout rate. It's not going to be as good as last year, but at least his walks should be going up according to Steamer projections. 285 batting average from a guy who hacks a lot of pitches. You'll take that. 339 on base percentage. It's a little low. It's not superstar material, but you'll take it because he might be able to steal some bases. And the 505 slugging percentage, I think that's attainable for him. So maybe you won't see these gargantuan numbers, but you might see some respectable, decent slash line from him. And now you got to ask yourself, is that first outfield material? Well, that's for you people to decide. I would gladly take him as my first outfielder if it comes down to that. But, like you said, outfield is so full of depth. I mean, if you look at the rest of the top 15, you have Cedric Mullins, Jordan Alvarez, Teoscar Hernandez, Aaron Judge, Whit Merrifield, Eloy Jimenez, even Nick Castellanos and George Springer. So some more established players are on that list to round out the top 15. So we'll see. But in terms of upside, you got to love it. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there is a lot to be worried about with Luis Robert. But
yeah, I just don't know if my first outfield pick is going to be a risk. I would want to pick more of a stable, somebody who I know is going to be there, somebody who I know is going to produce. I don't know if Luis Robert is going to do that or not. If he does, great. But I wouldn't want to pick my first outfielder and automatically hang my season on a risk.
Well,
you know what I mean? So,
I would trust Luis Robert before I trust Teoscar Hernandez, who's my number 12, who's the number 12 outfielder ranked on this list. Teoscar Hernandez, I didn't like him coming into the season. And of course, I ended up eating crow because of it. Teoscar Hernandez is just weird to me, but he is improving his strikeout rate. If I gotta congratulate Luis Robert for improving his strikeout rate, I gotta do the same thing for Teoscar Hernandez. But after posting strikeout rates of about 30%, and last year he cut it down to 25%. I feel like next year it's gonna go back up again, close to the 30% mark, just because you are who you are after a while. It's hard to argue against a guy who hit 32 home runs, 116 RBI, and stole 12 stolen bases, and was posting a remarkable triple slash line. But look at this. According to Steamer projections, they don't believe in him either. They think that his 2022 triple slash line is going to be 259 average, 319 on base percentage, and a 480 slugging percentage, way below his career high marks from last season. And you talk about who's a real Luis Robert. Well, who is a real Teoscar Hernandez? Because he's been known to post these ugly looking on base percentages. And then somewhere in 2020, he was able to kind of, have an epiphany on how to get more on base. And he's been posting 340 on base or higher since the 2020 shortened season. But are we just going to sit here and believe that Teoscar Hernandez is this guy? I rather not. I rather not do that. But we've seen plenty of late bloomers show up in Major League Baseball, so we'll see. But I rather have Luis Robert as my anchor in the outfield than Teoscar Hernandez. Just as my personal preference. I know that both come with with very aggressive plate approaches, but at least Robert has that upside. He's a little bit younger, and Robert could be a 30-30 player. What you're getting for Teoscar Hernandez, I feel like you can get that from some other player at a cheaper discount. So that's my bust for this top 15 increment. Let's go with this. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Here's another one, and this may sway you even more towards not picking him up. Is you didn't mention his outside the strike zone swing percentage, which I'm surprised because
let's be fair. I did say that he does have a suspect plate approach.
That is very true. But let's look at it. 2019, his outside the swing zone or outside the strike zone swing percentage, 30.3%. In 2020, it went up to 34.3%. And then you have the same in 2021, 34.3%. Right? Now, his outside the strike zone contact percentage in 2019, 55.6%. In 2020, 52.1%. And in 2021, 52.3%. So not only is he swinging at more pitches outside the zone, but he's not making more contact. He's making the same, if not less contact as he gets older. So you're probably looking at more strikeouts and weaker contact.
Yeah, then the one thing that he got even more hyper aggressive is because he's trying to attack that strike zone. I mean, his swing percentage inside the strike zone have also gone up, and he's improved his contact rates within the strike zone, which makes his overall contact rate look much better than it has in the past. But yeah, this guy has a career contact rate of 67.7%, and I'm supposed to trust him as my first outfielder? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the sleepers. Let's go with your guy, Starling Martay, who's the 8th ranked outfielder according to Tristan Cockcroft. So he's a spot above Luis Robert. Martay is in his 30s. The home run power doesn't seem to be there anymore, but what is still there are those wheels. Let's talk about Starling Martay. Austin, take it away.
Starling Martay for me is, and I think I said it on the last episode, Starling Martay is good at pretty much everything. He's not spectacular at one thing, but he's good at everything. Now, he's a pretty good all-around player. I know I've talked about the all ball a couple of times in the outfield. Only 7 players or 6 players are better than Starling Martay all around, according to the all ball statistic. And people that are, players that, outfielders that are better than, or that Starling Martay is better than, according in 2020, Juan Soto, Mookie Betts, Chris Bryant, Aaron Judge, Brian Reynolds, people that when you say outfield, those are what you think of. And all of MLB, when you look at in terms of all of MLB, he's up there as well in all ball. I don't have it up right now, but I will figure it out. But he's up there. He's doing very, very well. And I think, he's going to get on base. He may not necessarily get you a ton of home runs, but he will get you, extra base hits. He'll rack up some of those points. He'll get you some RBIs, and he's not going to steal every bag. He's not going to steal a ton of bags, but he will steal bags. So I think I would say Starling Martay is going to be a good, consistent outfielder, and I would much rather have him as a first outfielder than any of the previous 2 that we just talked about. So yeah, my sleeper in the top 12 is going
15.
to be, or 15. I'm sorry, it's going to be Starling Martay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a decent pick, especially in a rotisserie league where you're looking for stolen bases. But the one thing that I'm a little concerned with him is that he's older. I know age is just a number, whatever, but he's a little older, and he's getting very close to being that stolen bases only guy, because he's not going to get you a lot of home runs, and he's not going to get you a lot of RBI for obvious reasons. He's at the top of the lineup as opposed to being in the heart of the lineup. But if he can at least reach a 340 on base percentage, he could be effective in on base percentage leagues, especially with those stolen bases. And he's projected to hit the 30 stolen base mark. So yeah, there's a lot to like about Starling Martay, even at this advanced age. I'm sorry, he's 33 already. But somehow he's not slowed down by age. Age is just a number to him. So
even being at the top of the lineup, I finally got the all ball figured out in all of MLB. He is 21st in all of MLB in the all ball statistic. And with this all ball statistic, if you're bad at one thing, it drives your average down. It drives your all ball down. So if you're not a big ball person, it drives you down. That's why when you're looking at all of this, you're looking at all the MLB, you don't see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. way up here because he's a great big ball guy. He's a great middle ball guy, but his small ball is not up there.
Yeah.
So, he's down a little bit. So you really have to be good at all 3. So even at the top of the lineup, he's still getting enough RBIs to be ranked in the top 25 in all of MLB out of a sample size of 188 players. He's 21st. So even being at the top of the lineup, he's still up there, and I think that's pretty good. Yeah, age is probably going to be a little bit of a concern. He may drop a little bit, but I mean, it's better than Teoscar Hernandez or Luis Robert, in my opinion.
Well, I don't think he's better than Luis Robert, but I mean, not that I'm a White Sox fan or anything, even though this is why I had the Cubs thing to the tilt. I'm not just doing an homage to Fernando Rodney here, although it'd be the other way around, but
yeah.
Or Pedro Strop. Chris from San Francisco is a big Giants fan, is tuning in. Thank you for tuning in, Chris. Really appreciate it. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Aaron Judge is my sleeper at the top 15. Like Aaron Judge, why? How's he a sleeper? It's just by rankings, I mean, Aaron Judge at one point was highly ranked as an outfielder, maybe even top 5, and I still believe in him. I think he could still, as far as like we talked about, who's your anchor? I mean, this is like number 1 outfielder being selected here. You can't do worse. I mean, who's gonna hate on a guy who nearly hit 40 home runs and nearly got to 100 RBI? Is improving his approach at the plate every single season. I mean, this guy used to strike out a ton, and now he's cut down the strikeouts to 25%, as well as keeping a double-digit walk rate of over 10%. I mean, you want to see that. That's the type of player you want to see. And yeah, there's going to be injury concerns with him, but I mean, he showed. He played 148 games last year. He showed what he can do on a healthy, when he's healthy, and he can not just carry your fantasy team, but he can also probably carry the New York Yankees for another couple of years from to come. Steamer projections love him. 41 home runs, 108 RBI. They think he can come close to repeating what he did last year. Lots of love here. The Statcast numbers, I mean, 95.8 exit velocity. I know that doesn't mean that he can repeat that for next year, but I mean, listen to this. Statcast numbers having at a hard hit rate of 57.9%, nearly 60% of of the balls that are being measured by Statcast shows that Aaron Judge is just clobbering the crap out of the ball, putting barrel to the bat. There's a lot to like here with him, and as a 13th outfielder on this list, I think you're getting a major steal from the.
I would think so too.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, and it's Aaron Judge. There's not much more left to say about him. We know who he is. Let's move on to the next tier, the next 15 picks. Let's start with my guy, Tyler O'Neill, who I feel like we've been trashing him ever since you and I have been on regularly on this podcast. But Tyler O'Neill, there's a lot to be concerned about. Yeah, the counting stats are nice. The production was nice. That you got some stolen bases from him. I mean, that was really good. I mean, that's a hell of a steal if you picked him up late in the year last year. But he comes with a really awful plate approach, hyper aggressive, 31.3% strikeout rate. And then last year was a career year for him. But is that the real Tyler O'Neill? I don't think so. I don't think that's him. I think Steamer Projections has him at a very respectable triple slash line that we can all agree of a 252 for 2022 batting average, 320 on base percentage as opposed to the 352 on base that he hit in 2021, and a 496 slugging percentage. Now I ask you, he's the 20th outfielder on Tristan Cochra's list. I don't think that's. Well, I said I was going to ask you, but there's that top 20 material that triple slash, and I just gave you the 252, 320, and 496 slugging percentage there.
No, I don't think it's top 20 material. I would have ranked him a little bit lower. The other thing that concerns me is his swing percentage is going up and his contact percentage is staying the same. So,
yeah,
you're not seeing, that upward trend. I can't talk today. Yeah. Upward trend of
it's Christmas.
Yeah, right. Of swing percentage and contact percentage going up. So you're going to see more strikeouts, which is not good in real baseball and it's not good in fantasy baseball. So, I would have ranked Tyler O'Neill lower.
Yeah. It just feels like it's just a one-time thing. Now, Steamer Projections still think that he's going to hit the big home runs, 36 of them for 2022, 13 stolen bases, 98 RBI, those would all be, the 90 RBI for sure would be a career high for him. crushing what he did in 2021.
And that might be because the St. Louis would put him in the middle of the lineup.
It's the same reason why Nolan Arenado was able to get those gaudy numbers, those gaudy counting stats. It's just Paul Goldschmidt, and you got Tommy Edman hitting in front of you. Yeah, sure, why not? And Nolan Arenado just hitting fly balls to the warning track, hoping that they land in home runs. At least you could say that Tyler O'Neill's power is legit, but it's a lot of boomer bust, and I think really good starting pitchers are going to take advantage of that. So I would stay clear. Like you said, if he were ranked a little lower, then you might consider. But at the number 20 spot, it's a little bit too pricey for me for a guy who has a lot of holes in his swings. It seems like your bust is Byron Buxton. We just talked about him being in the form of Luis Robert. I take it you don't like these athletic guys either, huh?
I'm not. It's not that I don't like. It's not that I don't like Byron Buxton. I think Byron Buxton is a good player, and I thought if he stayed healthy last year, he would have had a career year and probably would have been in the discussion of AL MVP if he kept going. Problem was he only played 61 games last year. He only had 254 plate appearances. The year before that, he only had 39 games. It was a 60-game season. He only played a little over half that season. 2019, 87 games. 2018, 28 games. He's played 7 seasons in the bigs so far. 7 seasons. Only 1 season has he played over 100 games, and that was 2017. That was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? So that is why I have Buxton as my bust, and I will continue to have him as my bust until he can prove to me that he will stay on the field and produce. It's the same with Luis Robert, right? You can't produce if you're not on the field, and you can't produce you can't produce for your team, and you can't produce for a fantasy team with 61 games. You can't do that. So, in my mind, he was a bust in 2021, and I think he'll be a bust this year unless he can stay on the field.
All right. I mean, that's fair. Those are all fair points. Eventually, you will have to take some risks. I mean, for Luis Robert, but they're all calculated risks, right? And for me, Luis Robert is not that big of a calculated risk. Byron Buxton is one for me, though. I mean, he's getting older, and bless his heart, he does play hard. But there's a price to pay when you play that hard, and we're seeing it every year. He can't stay healthy, so that is a concern. He's a number 18th best outfielder according to Tristan Cockruff's list of ESPN. So at 18, can you imagine telling yourself, "Oh, outfield is full of depth. There's a lot of outfielders to choose from. I'll just wait a little longer before I pick my first outfielder." And looking you right in the eye is Byron Buxton, and that's who you're going to go with as your anchor. At Byron Buxton, your number 1 outfielder on your fantasy team.
I wouldn't do it.
Well, what if you were able to match him, pair him up with your sleeper, Randy Arozarena? How's your outfield looking then, huh? I say it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so too, because Randy Arozarena is consistent. So if Buxton goes down, I know that I have Arozarena in order to, that will consistently produce for me. Randy Arozarena, in terms of all ball, is in the top 5. He's 5th. He's the 5th best outfielder. In terms of all ball overall, Randy Arozarena is 15th in all of MLB. So he's going to produce for you, and he's going to be right in the middle of that. I'm sure he'll either be 2nd, 3rd in that Rays lineup. I don't know. I don't have roster resource up right now, so I don't know where he's at. But
gotcha. Go ahead.
I'm sure he's going to be right in the middle of that Rays lineup. So he's going to get you those RBIs, and we know the Rays are going to stick around. He's projected right now to be 4th according to roster resource. So he's going to be right in that prime RBI spot, batting in front of people like Austin Meadows and Brandon Lau, Wander Franco. Wander Franco's going to get on base, so he's going to hit these guys around and get the RBIs. I think Randy Arozarena would be a really, really good pick. Maybe not necessarily. You could pick him as an anchor. I could think of a few other people that I would pick before Randy Arozarena, but he could be a pretty good steal if you're looking at, second, third, fourth round, and he's still there. I'd pick him up.
One concern about Rosarena is he doesn't hack up pitches, even though he does have a pretty high strikeout rate. He's not a hacker. He's a very patient guy. I mean, he's a Tampa Bay Rays prospect. Of course, he's going to be patient and have this nice approach. But one thing he can't do is hit with consistent contact outside the strike zone. Now, it's only a small sample size because we haven't really seen what he can do. But he also comes with a very low overall contact rate to begin with. So that's kind of concerning. And Austin, are you frozen? Oh my God. I thought I lost you. What the hell was that? I see you're just sitting still right there.
I'm listening intently.
Oh my God. You didn't even blink. How do you do that?
I'm listening intently. It's my teacher look.
Clearly it is. It must be. Jeez, every year, every week I learn something new about you and your profession as well. Anyway, below 70% contact rate. I mean, we're talking smack about Teoscar Hernandez, but the difference is Hernandez is a wild swinger and Rosarena is very patient. So I'm thinking to myself, well, what's the difference here? And that means that if a pitch is going into the strike zone, he's attacking it very aggressively because he knows that he may not see another one like that. But in terms of, that inside the strike zone swing percentage, it's nothing special. He's not, he doesn't rank way high up there among the elite. I mean, he has a similar strike zone inside the strike zone, swinging strike rate inside the strike zone. He has the same one as Aaron Judge, Joey Gallo, Nolan Arenado, those guys. So that puts him in the top 100, but it's nothing elite. So it's a very strange one that he doesn't strike. He is improving his strikeout rate, but he still strikes out at a pretty high clip. Doesn't walk a lot, but he's a very patient hitter who doesn't make a lot of contact. So that might be a concern, but we'll see. I mean, this guy has been just improving every single time that he steps on the field. So maybe we'll see improvements in contact rates for next season. Steamer projections love him as a potential 2020 guy. And as your 21st ranked outfielder, according to Tristan Cockruff, that might be the steady option compared to Byron Buxton or I forgot who my pick was. Oh, I haven't done my pick yet.
You haven't done your pick.
No, I'll do my picks right now. Chris Taylor. This is a boring pick. I don't care what he did last year.
You missed your sleeper.
I haven't done my bus yet. Oh my God. No, what? Okay, no, I'm jumping the gun. You're right. Sorry about that. Who the hell was my bus in this round? Tyler O'Neill. Okay, that's
sense. Right.
Okay, my bad. Okay, so forget what I said about Chris Taylor. Let's go with my sleeper, Christian Yelich. That's right. I'm not giving up, guys. I am not giving up. I'm never gonna give up on Christian Yelich. Maybe this might be the last year. Maybe next year might be the last year. I don't care. 24th ranked outfielder. This guy was a top 5 outfielder not too long ago. A former MVP candidate. He just turned 30. So that is a little bit of a concern. But you know what? He has yet to really break down because those last 2 years, they don't count. Let's just put it out there. They don't count.
You can't just not count 2 seasons of.
Oh, but we can discount multiple seasons of high value production out of Christian Yelich, who actually does come with a lot of baseball skills that we look for in this podcast. Come on, man. Strikeout rates are low compared to the guys we talked about. I mean, Arozarena, Buxton, Robert, Teoscar Hernandez, those guys have higher strikeout rates. The difference is Yelich also can come close to matching it with his walk rate. He had it high at a 14.7% walk rate. So there's nothing wrong with his batting eye. There's nothing wrong with his approach. It's just, can he put the ball, the barrel of the bat on the ball? And go back to those MVP numbers from 2019 and 2018, where he really turned his career around when he got traded to the Milwaukee Brewers. And I can already hear the cynics out there, Austin. Well, since the Astros got caught cheating, all of a sudden Christian Yelich, who was also accused of stealing, getting help from stolen signs, which, if you really think about it, Austin, David Stearns, the general manager, he came from the Houston Astros. So there might be something to that theory, but whatever that case, he still is able to produce an exit velocity over 90 miles per hour. He's never gone below that mark. The barrel rate is down, I'll give you that, but the hard hit rate is still kind of healthy at 48.4% according to StatCast. A lot of this triple slash line that we didn't like from last year, they're suggesting that it should have been a lot better according to the StatCast expected data. So there's a lot to like here. The one thing I don't like is that he's going back to his old ways of grounding, of putting a lot of ground balls. And that's the thing that kind of hurt him in Miami, but he was able to kind of overcome those issues here in Milwaukee. I'm hoping that those don't become issues anymore, that he can go and find ways to lift the ball like he did when he was like one of the best, not just a top 5 outfielder, but top 5 player in all of baseball. And of course, the plate discipline numbers are all decent. I mean, for a power hitter like him, who's supposed to be a power hitter, there's not a lot to hate here. So I'm hoping and looking for a big bounce back season from Christian Yelich.
We'll see. I think the main problem here with Yelich is when you look at roster resource, he's projected to bat third in that lineup behind Willy Adames, who has done really well since being traded from Tampa to Milwaukee. Yep. But then he's in front of Rowdy Tellez. Now, if I'm a pitcher and I'm doing the scouting report and I'm trying to figure out whether I want to focus more on Christian Yelich or Rowdy Tellez, I'm going to pick Christian Yelich. So Christian Yelich is going to get harder pitches to hit. It's not like you've got, a threat power hitter. I mean, Tellez has some thump, but he's not one that I'm going to focus on. I'm going to focus on Christian Yelich out of everybody in this lineup.
So around them,
he may have that problem of he's still the guy that they're focusing on, and they're really trying to make sure that he's not the one that beats them. So, you could see, I don't know. I think it's the same as Cody Bellinger. I don't think that he'll have as terrible of a season, but I don't see him going back to the MVP that he was a couple of years ago.
Yeah. And just to keep that, those expectations there, Steamer has him at 25 home runs and 12 stolen bases. So if you're in a roto league and if you're looking for a second or third outfielder, Christian Yelich might be there for you at that spot if you're lucky. And then the on-base percentage is still pretty damn high at 362 from last year, 368 for Steamer projections, and a much better slugging percentage. So that's the expectation. And like I said, they're not MVP caliber. But there's always that potential with Christian Yelich. Like and it could be that injuries have taken a toll on him, and just the wear and tear of playing baseball since you were Major League Baseball since you were, how old was he when he was drafted? He was 18 years old when he was drafted by the Marlins, and just playing all those games, it will take a toll on you. But, like I said, he's only 30 years old. I mean, most people tell me 30 is not that old. I say it is old, but with Christian Yelich, let's just erase what happened last year, take baby steps to improvement, and you might have yourself a good second or third outfielder if you play your cards right. Moving on to, well, since I already mentioned, I'll go ahead and make my bust pick right now. And that is Chris Taylor. I know people saw the postseason and saw his heroics, but you know what? I've also seen this guy just disappoint time and time again. And not much of it is his fault. A lot of it is because the Dodgers have so many players to go and play that they just kind of use Chris Taylor as a super utility player, which is great for real baseball, but frustrating for fantasy baseball. Let's see what he did. So last year, to get to the 20 home runs, he also increased his strikeout rate. He also chipped in 13 stolen bases. So I know Roto people will love that. Steamer projections are saying, nah, he's not that 2015 guy. He's more of an 18-9 guy, 18 home runs, 9 stolen bases. And he will post another subpar batting average of 244, according to Steamer projections in 2022. So that's going to hurt your batting average. And he's just not a very excitable guy for a guy who's ranked 37th overall. So that puts him in third or fourth outfield, which is, I guess it's okay for fantasy baseball. But if I'm looking for a third or fourth outfielder, I want someone with, more consistency. There has to be better players than him out there, at least guys with more upside. Chris Taylor's already 31 years old. Oh, for Felipe, you were talking so radiantly about Christian Yelich. Yeah, well, Christian Yelich is good. Still, I mean, he still has some skill sets that we all look for in both real and fantasy baseball. Chris Taylor is a nice player, but he's not, I don't know. For me, he's never been a difference maker in fantasy. I might be eating crow this time next year, but I'd rather not. I'd rather go and see what else is out there at outfielder. And there's plenty of outfielders out there to look at, including one. Well, let's just go. Let's skip it. Let's prove a point here. So 37th ranked Chris Taylor. I'm telling you, skip him because you can always get the 45th ranked best outfielder, Mark Canna. That's Austin's sleeper. Go ahead and tell the kids why you like Mark Canna so much.
I love Mark Canna. Mark Canna is another one. He can do it. He can do a lot. He can, he's got a little bit of pop now that he's away from the cavernous Oakland Coliseum and he's out in New York. He's, with the Mets, I can see his power numbers going up. He can get on base. I mean, he's been in the A's system, so he can get on base. He had a 358 OBP last year. And I think Mark Canna's biggest problem was he's been a platoon player, right? He's been the backup first baseman for Matt Olson. And then he's been a platoon right fielder out in Oakland, right? Which is fine, but again, like you said, for fantasy baseball, it makes it really hard. Last year, he had an all-star season. I had him on my lineup, and he did wonders for me. He did really well. On top of that, he qualifies for first base and the outfield, okay? And now he's in the Mets system, projected to bat sixth and consistently in the outfield. With their new hire, Buck Showalter, he's going to get some playing time. He's not going to be necessarily a platoon player anymore. He's going to get some solid playing time. I would very much like to see what he can do with regular playing time, not being a platoon player. Because even being a platoon player, he's in the top 15 in outfield in the all ball statistic. And then he is in all of MLB, he's right in there too. I got to find him because there's a ton of names, but he's right in there too. So I'm betting that Mark Canna, there he is. He's 38th in all of MLB, being a platoon player. So think about if he had regular playing time. I think the regular playing time is going to be good for Mark Canna, on top of the fact that he's batting around people like Francisco Lindor, who is not going to necessarily, he's not going to stay down. You have Pete Alonso. You have, Eduardo Escobar. You have Starling Martay on there. This is a better Mets lineup. So they're not going to be focusing on Mark Canna, right? So I think because they're not going to be focusing on Mark Canna, his numbers are going to go up a little bit. And I think he's going to be a pretty good little pickup for a fantasy team.
Yeah. And basically I'm looking at the numbers and Mark Canna is a cheaper version of Chris Taylor. You can wait a little longer for him. And there's not that threat that he's going to be moved around. I mean, right now, Chris Taylor is penciled in as the starting second baseman for the Dodgers. But there's always Gavin Lux lurking, and Matt Beatty's going to need some at-bats. And the Dodgers, last I checked, they still have a pretty decent farm system. Who's coming up for the Dodgers? I guess Michael Busch. That's one guy. Although because of years of competing, it doesn't look as strong as before. Because they've traded away. They traded away some prospects for Turner and Scherzer. So their farm system isn't looking as good as it used to be. But But if they decide not to trade any more guys, I mean, you still got Michael Busch coming up. He's going to be in AAA. You got Jacob Amaya, who might be coming up. He's still in AAA. He's listed as a shortstop. But the Dodgers are going to force him to play everywhere. But it's not as strong as it used to be in years past. Andy Pages will be in AA, but if he is able to show that he can be a real deal and move up in AAA really quickly, then maybe the Dodgers might be forced to bring him up as well. So there's always, but yeah, my point is once those prospects are up, it's Chris Taylor watch. Like, when is he going to be benched? When is he going to be platooned all over the diamond, just because that's what the Dodgers do? So, or as opposed to Mark Canna, you just mentioned Buck Showalter, kind of an old school guy. I want my lineup set for as much as possible. I'm not going to mess around with it. Mark Canna's going to be my number 6 guy, and he's going to be my starting left fielder. I don't care that I got J.D. Davis and Dominic Smith toiling in the bench. I don't give a damn. Mark Canna's my guy. So, by the way, since 2018, Mark Canna has posted has averaged a 366 on base percentage, which for a guy ranked this low, you would gladly take that. You would gladly take that from a player of his caliber. Let's go to your bust, and it's Andrew Vaughn. Again, you're just pissing off the White Sox fans here. I'll admit it, though. Andrew Vaughn was, all the playing time that he got last year, he kind of disappointed. I know I was disappointed in him that he couldn't take full advantage of his role. This is a former first-round pick. Yeah, top 3 pick overall in the 2019 June amateur draft. I was expecting a lot better than that. What other issues do you have with Andrew Vaughn here?
I think a big problem. You can't even say that. I was going to say, I think a big problem with Andrew Vaughn was they moved him around a lot. But I mean, he played 95 games in left field. He played 18 in right field, 15 at first base, 1 at second, and 2 at third. So he saw some pretty significant playing time in one position. But Tristan Cockcroft has him as the number, what is he, 39? 39 player and for outfield in fantasy baseball. But when you look at it, he has a 92 OPS plus, 92 for the 2021 season. What? Why? Like, how in the world did he get that high with a 92 OPS plus? How in the world did he get that high with a 235 batting average, a 309 OBP, and a 396 slugging? He only hit 15 home runs. Like, this guy is not the number 39. I can think of a ton of other outfielders that are going to be a better pickup than Andrew Vaughn. For me, if you're going to pick up Andrew Vaughn, he's going to be a late round pickup because I need another outfielder on the bench.
Let's talk about it. Okay, Andrew Vaughn or Jared Klenex? You said that you can pick better outfielders than Andrew Vaughn, so let's go.
Andrew Vaughn or Jared Klenex? I would probably go with Klenex over Vaughn. All right.
Jorge Soler? He's a free agent, though.
Yeah, he's a free agent. I don't know if I would pick Jorge Soler.
Oh, so see, you're lying. You're a liar.
That's one true. Guy. That's one guy. One guy. How many outfielders are there in the MLB?
AJ Pollock or Andrew Vaughn? I'm just going through Cockcroft's list here. These are guys who are ranked lower than Andrew Vaughn. So would you take Pollock over Andrew Vaughn?
I would probably take Pollock.
Probably. Oh, you were so sure about your statement from before. See, this is why we don't speak in hyperbolic measures here. Lourdes Gurriel or Andrew Vaughn?
Gurriel.
Okay, now that's a little bit more affirmative, right? Okay. Hunter Renfroe.
I would go Renfroe over Vaughn.
Okay, now we know you have a love affair with Mark Canna. Andrew Benintendi or Andrew Vaughn?
Benintendi.
All right. So I guess you're not that big of a liar after all.
I told you. One guy.
I'm not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. Well, Andrew Vaughn. The reason that he's ranked so high, it's mostly upside. I mean, he is a top 3 pick. You look at his prospect grade from Fangraphs. He had a 55 hit tool, but with the potential to go all the way up to 70, like a real hitter's hitter here, with the power to match. The one thing he doesn't have is speed, so he would just be focusing on the hitting and plate approach and plate discipline aspect of things, right? And with the hopes that would translate into some 25 home run power, right? Fielding is bad, which makes it frustrating to see that now he can't play first base because Jose Abreu's there. So now he has to play left field and learn those new positions in a hurry. So I don't know. It's brand new baseball. You got to be ready to play wherever your manager asks you. But in Andrew Vaughn's case, a guy who had low field grades to begin with, I could see how that could mess him up. So we'll see what happens next year. But I mean, if he wants to play, that's what he has to do. He has to just play all over the diamond. What did he do in the minors? See, there's not enough playing time. He had one season in the minors, and then COVID happened. But he was able to be somewhat productive in the minors. So you kind of hang your hat and go for that upside. He's only 24 years old, or he will be 24 years old once the season starts. So maybe that's why he's ranked so high, according to Tristan Cockcroft, in the top 40, ahead of guys we just mentioned. And finally, the plate discipline. He's pretty patient, although he's a pretty aggressive when it comes to pitches outside the strike zone. But he makes plenty of contact to make up for it. And so, yeah, I mean, he's a real professional hitter, potentially. And that potential might lead to those big home runs, big RBI number, big run production. So we shall see. But I agree. He needs to show me something at this point because he did have that opportunity and he kind of squandered it. On a White Sox team that, I mean, if Andrew Vaughn comes out and is able to carry that team on his back, along with Jose Abreu, despite the fact that Robert and Eloy Jimenez are injured, I mean, that would be a hell of a different storyline than what we saw last year. And that way Tony La Russa doesn't get all the credit in the world. But hey, that's the thing. La Russa loves him. So that's a step in the right direction for him. Let's go with where are we now? I don't know. Oh, okay. So we are on this aspect. We are on picks 40s. Oh, you know what? I haven't got my sleeper yet. I am so sorry. Let's see if we can move this fast here. Jared Klenex, for the same reasons I mentioned about, what's his face? Andrew Vaughn. Jared Klenex, a number 40 ranked outfielder, according to Tristan Cockcroft. And it's the same reasoning. It's a high pedigree player in terms of prospects. He was the 6th pick overall in the 2018 draft. And we know that he struggled last year, that he was not the guy that we were promised to have. But you know, I will say to the day I die that if the Mariners don't mess around with them and just bring them up with them and forget this nonsense about the Super 2, because you're not gonna. Well, that's a different topic, because I'm going to be on a soapbox if I start talking about what they should have done here. But yeah, you mess around with his playing time, and he was able to get 14 home runs and 6 stolen bases. And this is a guy who can potentially get to that 20 stolen base threshold. So we kind of are looking to do that, to see that from him. I mean, 12 stolen bases according to Steamer projections for the 2022 season, and along with 22 home runs, you'll take that. Especially this late on the list here. What was his plate discipline numbers? Because they must have been pretty bad. I mean, he looked overmatched, and yeah, 32. So these are kind of similar to what Andrew Vaughn was doing. Respectable contact rate. So there is some hope for Jared Klenex to kind of turn it around and what do you call it? Live up to those expectations. The one thing I don't like is the Mariners love to play everybody. It's like the little league rules here. Like you got to play everybody at least once. Klenex in a platoon as of right now in center field with who do we agree with? Dylan Moore. Okay, it's just your future, guys. It's just your future. Oh, but we have that extra year to make a decision. I go, okay, take your extra year and shove it. All right, you're messing up this poor kid's.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference
potential.
between Klenex. Here's the difference between Klenex and Vaughn.
Yeah.
Klenex kept bouncing up and down between AAA and the majors. Then he go back down to AAA. Then he go back up to the majors. Then he went back down to AAA. Right? He kept bouncing back and forth. Andrew Vaughn didn't do that. Andrew Vaughn just played in the bigs all year last year. He had a pretty big sample size, and he still sucked. So I mean, I don't know. I would believe in Jared Klenex more than Andrew Vaughn, as long as Klenex gets more consistent playing time in the bigs. You keep bouncing him back and forth between the minors and the majors. He's not going to do. There aren't very many ball players that are going to do very well bouncing back and forth like that.
No, it is a timing issue. It's a frustrating issue. But the one thing you got to account for is that that's the thing. Mariners are loaded in the outfield. Vaughn, the White Sox had no choice but to keep him up here because of the injuries and because there was nobody else better to take out Andrew Vaughn. And like I said, La Russa loves the kid. So if La Russa loves him, I mean, we saw what happens when La Russa doesn't like a player. They disappear.
Yeah.
Andrew Vaughn is loved by La Russa. He stays up. He's not going anywhere. And Klenex, I mean, the issue with the Mariners is that they do have some depth. I mean, Dylan Moore, I know I trash him all the time, but he stole 21 bases last year. How the hell did he steal 21 bases if he can't even get on base? That's beyond me. But they also have Taylor Trammell as well, who is also a highly regarded prospect. And they can move around Jake Fraley, Mitch Haniger. I feel like there's more guys that they have. Oh, I guess not. And then guess what? Guess what's going to happen? Julio Rodriguez is going to come up, and he's going to need some playing time. So that's the issue that the Mariners have. So that's a warning for future Jared Klenex owners. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We are getting close to that hour mark, I believe. So let's try to do some speed points here, starting with your guy, Charlie Blackman. He's your bust, ranked number 60th overall as we now go to the 46 to 60 increment here. What is your deal with Charlie Blackman, and why do you hate him so much?
Charlie, I've loved Chuck Nasty for a long time. I've always thought he was a pretty good ball player, was a staple in that Rocky system. The problem is he's on a steady decline and he's not getting any younger. Right, he's getting into his age 35 season, and he's had a steady decline in batting average. His OBP has stayed up, but his slugging has gone down, even though he's in Coors Field. OPS plus is on the decline. He's, in my opinion, he's on a steady decline, and I'm not quite sure that he's going to be super productive. Especially with a Colorado lineup that, quite frankly, is a joke.
Hey,
So
wow,
I don't know.
Man.
Do you guys, you've heard my rant on round trippers at how terrible of an organization Colorado is right now. So, I really don't see Charlie Blackman doing really anything that's of any substance for a fantasy team. You may pick him up once or twice if he's got off the waiver wire, if he's got a good matchup coming up, but I wouldn't have him on my team. He's on a steady decline. He's getting older. I don't think I'm gonna really consider Charlie Blackman.
Well, I won't, just because he's old. I tend not to draft a lot of old players. But one thing I will say is that if you're looking this late in, what is number 60th pick? If you wait around for outfield and you look around and you still need a third or fourth or even a fifth outfielder, and you see Charlie Blackman, I'd take a flyer. 19 home run projection, 346 on base percentage, 454 slugging percentage are the steamer projections. 454 would be a lot better than he has done in the last couple of seasons. And he would be right in the middle of the lineup in front of CJ Cron, who has proven that he can hit anywhere. He can hit bombs wherever he is, and especially at Coors Field. A full season of CJ Cron at Coors Field, I can't wait to see what that looks like. As CJ Cron, I feel like he played 142 games last year. CJ Cron did, but I feel like he didn't play as much as he should have. Like he was hurt for a lot to start out the year, I feel like, but I might be misremembering things. But CJ Cron hit 30 home run, is projected to hit 30 home runs. Charlie Blackman should be be the benefactor in terms of runs scored. Maybe he goes from 76 runs to 80, 85 runs. Right now, Steamer has him at 71, but if Cron is going to be hitting bombs for you, you can see that go up to 80. So if you're in a roto league, that might be important to you. And I don't know. I feel like if you just leave this lineup alone and don't mess around with it too much, it'll be fine. You got Brendan Rodgers, Connor Joe, Ryan McMahon. I know those are not household names, but those guys prove that they can be somewhat competent playing in Coors Field. So we'll see.
I'll admit, maybe I'm being a little bit hyperbolic about. I
agree. You can trash the organization, the front office ownership. Yeah. That's a piece of crap. But don't take it out on the players, man. The players are just they're just collateral damage.
They've got some promising young guys, but I don't know. I know that. Do any of us see Colorado making an impact? I don't think so.
No.
And going back to Charlie Blackman, I don't think Charlie Blackman is going to really do anything of substance. So, I have him as my bust. I don't really think he's going to do anything.
Let's go with my bust, the number 47th ranked Adam Duvall, which what happens a lot is that people see a guy like Adam Duvall in primetime games. Like, by the way, good morning to the Step Back podcast, both Leon and Jacob. I saw that they were tuning in while we were talking about some of those other outfielders we were talking about. Adam Duvall, I know, but he had 38 home runs, got 113 RBI, chipped in 5 stolen bases. He also had 228 with an on-base percentage of 281 last year. I'm sorry, I don't care how many home runs you hit. I don't care how many RBIs. You're going to mess up my rate stats. I don't want you on my team. He also comes with a 31% strikeout rate, which that's his norm. That's who he is. Maybe that's a little bit higher than his career norm, but you're talking close to a 30% career norm for Adam Duvall in terms of strikeout rate. I'm sorry, I could do better than this guy, but he's going to get drafted very highly because, I saw him in the World Series, so that means he's good. He's hitting bombs everywhere. All right, you go and take that. You go and take that as part-time player. He should be a part-time player, but he's not because the Braves probably didn't shore up their outfield before the lockout. Why would they? They're the Atlanta Braves. They don't do anything unless it's last year. But he's penciled in right in the heart of that order at the number 5 spot. They're assuming that Marcell Ozuna is going to be back, which I don't think he is. But yeah, if he gets the playing time, he will get those counting stats, but it's going to come at the price of really bad rate stats. And I don't need that in my life. So I am staying clear away from Adam Duvall in this draft. Let's go back to your sleeper, which is Robbie Grossman. That's a guy you've been talking a lot about for a while now. Go ahead and recap a couple of things that you like about Robbie Grossman there.
I think Robbie Grossman is a great sleeper. I think, he's not, he plays for the Tigers, so he's not going to hit 30, 40 bombs. But he will get you some good power, hitting the gaps, hit it over the fence, quite a few times for being a Tiger. He's got some good on base. His all ball number is 6th best in all of MLB. When he's last year, he had a better season than a number of people in this, oh my God, I cannot talk right now. He had a better season in terms of the all ball statistic, than a number of really great MLB players and players that we have said were sleepers. And he's right there with them and nobody ever knew. Mm-hmm. He's I think he's an underrated player. I'm pretty sure he is an outfielder, obviously. I think he qualifies under an infield position. I could be wrong though. But I don't know. I like Robbie Grossman. Do I like Robbie Grossman enough for him to be my anchor? No. But I think he is somebody to consider as, a fringe starting, maybe first bench, type of outfielder. I think he's a good consideration to be picked up. And, that Tigers lineup has gotten a little bit better. You got Badu, who you got to consider now. You have Baez, I guess. You have Candelario, you have Jonathan Scope, Spencer Torkelson is supposed to be coming up. So
that looks better than last year already.
It looks better than last year. So, I could foresee Robbie Grossman's numbers going up and him being more productive. I would consider him. I'd take a flyer out on him.
Yeah, this late in the draft, you should. Number 57, the ranked outfielder here. Definitely got to take advantage. That's 4th or 5th outfield material. If that's your 5th outfielder or whatever, it's a hell of a steal. Especially if he gets anywhere close to these projections, 17 home runs, 15 stolen bases, 346 on base percentage. The batting average is a little low, but we'll see. But I don't know. At this point, he is who he is in terms of batting average. But if you're in an on-base leagues like I am, he's definitely a guy that you will probably want to keep an eye on, especially with a improving Tigers team. Where are we now? Oh, my sleeper pick in this increment. By the way, Jacob of the Step Back podcast, who was replacing you last week. So thank you once again for doing that, Jacob.
He did a great job. Nice job, Jacob.
Yeah. And he's also a rival in both the fantasy basketball league and our fantasy baseball league as well. So fuck your teams. He says that, hey, now Adam Duvall plays well against the Mets. So there's that. So maybe that's a daily thing, a daily fantasy thing. Like if you see Duvall play against the Mets, just start him. He'll be hitting those home runs in bunches then. My guy is, wrong list. My sleeper pick in this increment, 46 to 60, according to Cockruff's list. Number 49 ranked, Dylan Carlson. And this is a guy, another one of those highly regarded prospects from the St. Louis Cardinals. Took him a while to get some consistent playing time, but he got 619 plate appearances. He only hit 18 home runs. That's okay. That's just the beginning of greater things to come. Has marvelous plate discipline, respectable batting average and on-base percentage for his first full season. So there's a lot to like here. Along with a 113 WRC plus, again, only his first year where he got regular playing time. Hopefully the Cardinals, as they are wont to do, they seem to lose patience with a lot of their outfield, but they can just go to their minor league system and bring up some other scrub and like a Tyler O'Neill. And then all of a sudden they're productive on this team. But right now, Dylan Carlson's supposed to be batting number 5. He has a right field position all to himself. So that's what you want to see. Steamer projections has him hitting 20 home runs, taking the next step, and still with that marvelous strikeout to walk ratio. And, you know, I say marvelous. I mean, I'm just saying it's all relative. You know, as a rookie, it looks good. I know 0.40 is nothing to brag about, but let me see. What did he do in the minors? Was that all he did? Yeah, he's shown that he's in the minors that he can post very high, a decent amount of walk per strikeout ratios. So, you know, he's getting close to that double-digit walk percentage. So that you love to see that, especially in on-base percentage leagues. Batted ball, he could try to hit the ball a little bit harder. He does tend to pull the ball a lot. Doesn't hit with much authority, but that's okay. It's only the beginning. He's only 23 years old. So the arrow is definitely pointing up on this guy. So this is a potential. There's an upside pick for me. That's all it is. But it could be a hell of an upside. And he can also might chip in some stolen bases. I thought I saw that in the minors that he was able to steal some. Let's see how many stolen. Yeah, he has one season of 18 stolen bases in 2019, way back in AA. So to get close to a 2020 guy this late in the draft, I don't know. That to me, that's just the epitome of what a sleeper pick should look like. So I'm expecting bigger things from Dylan Carlson. I'll be definitely targeting him in drafts in 2022. All right, that's the number 49 picks. Ranked Dylan Carlson. Now all we're focusing on are sleeper picks. All right, because now we're getting very late in this, not just in this podcast, but we're getting late in this. On this list of ESPN's top 125 outfielders from 61 to 75. We'll start with you. You took my thunder. You stole my guy. You got Harrison Bader at number 62, probably for the same reasons that I mentioned for Dylan Carlson. But go ahead and tell the kids why you like Harrison Bader so much.
Yeah, it's going to be the same thing as Dylan Carlson. He's got a great upside. He had a pretty good season last year. His slash line was 267, 324, 460. He had a 116 OPS plus. He only played 103 games, but I mean, he won a Gold Glove last year, so that may gain him some more playing time. And I don't know. I have a good feeling about Bader. I've always had a good feeling about Bader. I like Harrison Bader. I think he is going to do very well for this Cardinals lineup. He has a great contact rate. He has a very, very high contact rate, which I personally like to see. And his strikeout percentage is a little high, 24%. And his, or 21.2%, I'm sorry, last year, which is way down from 2020 at 32%. So that's actually his lowest in his career, which is good to see. His walk percentage has dropped though at 6.7. So that is probably something that you're looking to be a little concerned about. But overall, I like Harrison Bader. He's got a good contact rate, and I don't know. I like him. I think I just got a good feeling about that guy.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be my sleeper, but then I saw that you took him. So I'm like, and this list sucks, man. This list is full of garbage players. I almost wanted to skip this, but I do have a guy, but again, it's going to be another upside pick. But yeah, there's a lot to like about Bader. He is a little bit more aggressive than Carlson, but if he can put it together, he could be exciting. I mean, the Cardinals have a hell of an outfield going for them next season, as they always do. And again, if it doesn't work out, they'll just give up on him and get some other guy. They'll just go to their great value Kroger supermarket and just pick up the next guy. Maybe Alec Burleson will come up and take playing time away from some of these guys. But Tyler O'Neill, Harrison Bader, Dylan Carlson, it's a hell of a trio in the outfield. My outfielder at this increment, number 65 ranked, Joe Adell. And if Sean is listening, or if Sean were here, he would be just giving me so much crap about it. But I mean, this list sucks. I mean, Well, let me see, 61 to 75. What do we have? Anthony Santander. I mean, that's a boring pick. Eddie Rosario, he's a free agent, and but he's gonna be picked so much highly than what he deserves because of what he did in the playoffs. Like, no, I am not falling for that. Josh Rojas, Marcelo Zuna. Ugh, I don't want Marcelo Zuna. Ramon Laureano, who I feel like I'm done with them. I've been riding the Laureano train for so long, and all he does is disappoint. So not a lot of guys that I'm happy for. But Joe Adell, we're gonna go ahead and spin that wheel one more time. He showed some improvements in his strikeout rate, but again, a small sample size, and then he got hurt. And when he was healthy, he wasn't very productive, although there was like a week or two stretch where he was lighting up the scoreboard. But overall, he hit 295 on base percentage, so nothing to brag about. And all you can do is just perhaps look at what he did in the minors. So back in 2019 at AA, he had 8 home runs in only 182 plate appearances, was able to put up respectable walk and strikeout rates, and hit 308, 390 on base with a 553 slugging percentage. Again, that's AA. And then COVID hit, and he wasn't able to really prove himself. Although in the minors last year, as a 22-year-old, 23 home runs, strikeout rate is alarmingly high though, even in AAA. But again, a very good, decent triple slash line. So we're hoping that he can kind of duplicate what he did in AAA last year. Other than that, this is just a high upside pick because he was at one point a very highly regarded prospect. He was a top 10 pick for the Angels in their draft. If he can show any semblance of, listen, man, if he ends up having the same improving plate approach as Luis Robert, this is a hell of a steal if he can do that. So we'll see. But I mean, compared to the other guys I mentioned, you might as well roll the dice with this guy and see what he can get you for this season. I saw you shaking and nodding your head over there. Austin, what do you got to say about Joe Adell as an Angels fan?
I mean, as an Angels fan, I think it's been the theme of the Angels these last few years. You had guys with high expectations or guys who had a lot of upside and they just didn't live up to it. You had Griffin Canning, you had Andrew Heaney, you had, all these guys. Joe Adell was one of them.
Yeah.
Joe Adell, you ran off the numbers. He had a pretty good season a few years ago in AA, but then AAA, he went up to AAA and he fell apart. Then COVID hit. Then he got his chance in 2020 and just laid an egg all over the place. I mean, he did not do well at all. 161 batting average, 212 OBP, 266 slugging for an OPS plus. That's the lowest I've ever seen. 30 OPS plus. And then, he got hurt last year. I mean, I guess the upside, as an Angels fan, I'm rooting for him because he does have that big upside. But, realistically, from the baseball fan standpoint, the good thing that I can say is he's projected to be the starting right fielder for the Angels this year.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's projected in 511 plate appearances to have 21 homers. But along with that, he has his slash line, his projected slash line for 2022 is 243, 294, 437. So that's not great coming out of a 23-year-old who was one of the was a very highly regarded prospect just 2 years ago. So I'm not gonna hold my breath for Joe Adell, but as an Angels fan, I'm hopeful. We'll see.
Moving on, we're in the stretch run here, but we're also up against the clock as we are getting late. At 76 through 90, you got the number 90th ranked Manuel Margot as your sleeper pick this late in the draft, this late on Tristan Cockruff's list. Go ahead and explain yourself.
I mean, when you're looking at Rays, I think the Rays are a good team to look at for, really any position or especially pitching. But I like Manuel Margot because, again, once you got a little bit lower to this list, it was really hard to find players that I liked. And essentially why I liked Manuel Margot was because he's had 2 seasons in a row They were just barely below average, but they were close to league average in terms of OPS plus. Last season, he had a 98 OPS plus. He, grabbed 10 homers and stole 13 bags. He can steal some bases for you. He can get on base. I'm not super excited about the Manuel Margot pick, but he was the best one, I think, out of this group. And so that's why I picked him as the sleeper.
A couple of comments from Jacob. He also agrees with us about Dylan Carlson. He's liking Harrison Bader too. That's one of his sleepers. So I'll make a note of that for the draft. So when I snipe that pick away from him. And he's asking, what about Frank Schwindel? Like, hey, we love Frank Schwindel. We talked about him a couple of episodes ago he was my first base sleeper. And then when you do it, Frank Schwindel is when he gets off to a good start, you flip him over and you take advantage. You go and take advantage of someone who doesn't expect you to trade Frank Schwindel, and then you get all the players that you want for Frank Schwindel. Like, this guy's a real deal. And then when the Cubs trade him to a contender and then he becomes a bench spot, you just go laughing all the way to the bank. So that's a free tip from me to you. Where were we? My guy. Oh, Jacob's going to love this guy. The number 83 ranked outfielder, Brandon Nimmo. Can't give this guy up. I cannot do it. I know I always get disappointed with him. The stats, the counting stats are never there for him, except for 2018 when he hit 17 home runs and stole 9 bases. There seems to always be some playing time issues because the Mets are usually have a lot of outfielders that they need to play as well. Your Dominic Smiths, your JD Davises of the world, and those guys are converted infielders. And then the other thing about him is that he can't stay healthy. I mean, he was healthy for the 2020 season, 55 out of 60 games. But just like Byron Buxton, he's only played more than 100 games once in his career. Then that was that 2018 season I just mentioned. But the one thing you love about Brandon Nimmo, and you cannot give up on him, is number one, he nearly walks as much as he strikes out. So I marvel at Dylan Carlson's walk per strikeout ratio. Brandon Nimmo is Mr. walk per strikeout ratio. I mean, this is elite level status in terms of walk per strikeout ratio, talking about 0.65, 0.77, 0.68. And for a modern day of Major League Baseball, where a lot of hitters are striking out way more than they're walking, you will take these numbers and be happy, especially if you're playing in some of those more complicated leagues that account for walks and strikeouts and on-base percentage. Speaking of on-base percentage, 401 on-base percentage last year. And he coupled that with a 292 batting average. It's like, I just can't get it. I just cannot wrap my head as how good this guy could be if he can, number one, stay healthy, and number two, can show that he can pad those counting stats where it matters, the home runs, the runs, the RBI, and the stolen bases. But the rate stats always show a guy who should be much better than he is, and he should be getting a lot more love than he is getting. But so we'll see. He's entering his age 29 season to begin next year. If he can stay healthy, Steamer projections only has him hitting 16 home runs and only 9 stolen bases. If he can stay healthy for get those plate appearances that Dylan Carlson got for the Cardinals last year, holy crap, watch out. Because if this triple slash line translates, you have yourself the biggest sleeper of 2022. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. Moving on, let's go to Miles Straw. That is the number 98th ranked outfielder according to Tristan Cockcroft, and that is Austin's sleeper pick this late in the draft. Why? Go ahead, explain why Miles Straw is your guy here.
You know what? He's another one. I like Miles Straw. And again, Miles Straw, I go back to the all ball number. He's way up there in the all ball number, especially in the small ball. If you're looking for a guy, to up your average a little bit, he's going to be, I think, the guy, especially this year, because this is going to be his first full season with regular playing time. He's going to be, he's going to play for the Guardians. I think the problem with Miles Straw was the same problem that Kyle Tucker was having on the Astros before he became a regular player there. He wasn't getting enough playing time, so his numbers didn't show how good of a player he is. I think Miles Straw is going to be a good small ball type of guy, a guy that, will hit for average, will get you, some stolen bases. I'm not quite sure how many stolen bases he had last
He
year.
stole 30.
He stole 30. So yeah, he's going to get you stolen bases. So I think Miles Straw is going to be a very good pickup, especially for as low as he's ranked. He was ranked what, 98th? Yeah, 98th. So I really like him. I almost went with your sleeper, but I could not get away from Miles Straw and how much I like Miles Straw.
Honestly, if you don't get Miles Straw here, I would have picked him. So that just goes to show you how we're on the same wavelength here. And I think it's criminal that he's ranked number 98. I don't know if
I think he should have been way higher.
Way higher. I mean, stolen bases alone. I mean, people always tell me, "Oh, we need stolen bases. We need stolen bases." This guy is the ultimate stolen base guy for me, because he's not gonna hurt you from a skill set standpoint. He's gonna not kill your batting average. He's not gonna kill your on base percentage. And he's going to be able to steal anywhere between 20 and 30 stolen bases, especially with a horrible Guardians team. And where Terry Francona has shown that he'll let guys run. Or I don't know, maybe I'm speaking out of turn there. I'm not sure what Terry Francona's, but just from, let's take a look. Let's look. What did the rest of the Guardians do last year? I mean, Jose Ramirez stole 27 bases. Although you could tell me, well, that's Jose Ramirez. Amir Rosario, who's also fast, he stole 13 stolen bases. And Bradley Zimmer, who's supposed to be one of the fastest guys in all of baseball, according to StatCast numbers, he stole 15 stolen bases. So they're not gaudy numbers, but they're double digits nonetheless. And let's see, projections. Yeah, Straw, 22 stolen bases. Ramirez, 23 stolen bases. Andres Jimenez, if he plays more, 16 stolen bases. So they're going to get them one way or another. It's just, how much will Francona give these guys a green light? So we shall see. But Miles Straw is a bona fide base stealer, I think. Why say that? How many times did he get caught? 6 times. So that's a net of 24. That's pretty healthy. That's pretty healthy. Let's see here. My God. But no, I agree. I mean, he should be ranked much higher, I think. And he just has so many positive things going for him. Vidal Brujan, number 92. I know the thing that people will come to me and say, "Oh, but you're picking a bench guy and a guy who with a Tampa Bay Rays team." Because I was trashing Chris Taylor. Well, the difference is Chris Taylor is ranked number 37, and Brujan is way, way behind in number 92. So this is late in the draft. Brujan also has a lot of prospect pedigree. He was right there with Wander Franco as a top 5 prospect for a while with the Tampa Bay Rays. And then how Brujan gets more playing time, well, he can play second base. So if Brandon Lau, who I don't know who picked Brandon Lau as their bust. Was it me or you? At second base.
It was one of us. I would have picked him if you didn't. So
yeah, we don't like Brandon Lau, but so there, Vidal Brujan, he gets in. Okay, what if he qualifies at outfield? Okay, well he will have to jump over Austin Meadows, Randy Rosarino. That's not happening. But he could jump over Manuel Margot, even though Austin likes him as a sleeper. I don't think there's anything really exciting about Margot. I didn't mention that because
I didn't think there was either. I thought he was just the best out of that group.
Yeah, and still that's the arrow's pointing down for Margot. I believe. I understand your plight there, but I believe that Margot's that might be an in for Vidal Brujan to play more often. And if not Margot, then you replace the 32-year-old Kevin Kiermaier, which sounds blasphemous, but you're gonna not play one of the more exciting prospects in all of baseball because of Kevin Kiermaier. Brujan will be 24 next year. Supposed to come with a lot of with a high hit tool and high speed. What has he done in the minors? Well, at AAA last year, 12 home runs, 44 stolen bases. Let that one sink in for a little bit. Oh, that's just 1 year, though. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What?
No, I was laughing.
Oh. At 2019, what did he do at AA? Oh, 24 stolen bases. Well, what about single A in 2019? 24 stolen bases. That's a total of 48 stolen bases in 2019 between high A and AA. And he's not going to strike out a lot. He knows how to take a walk. He has posted respectable on-base percentages for a player of his caliber in the minors. He did struggle last year, but come on, not getting a lot of playing time for the Tampa Bay Rays. This is a pick you make, and you just plug him in all the way at the end of your bench, and just leave him alone, like buying stock, right? You get your Apple stock and you leave it alone. Don't touch it. Just leave him there. Because once June, July, August comes, you'll be thankful that he's on your team and that it was worth keeping him around. StatCast, I know, I mean, there's not a lot to talk about in terms of, because it's such a small sample size in terms of StatCast, but yeah, they're not very impressive. Let's take a look. Yeah, he's a ground ball guy. So, but it's because he's a fast guy too. So he's taking advantage of his speed in that department. So he's not going to frustrate you with a lot of pop-ups, at least, and fly balls. At least that's the promise there. And then the plate discipline numbers. He doesn't swing at too many. Swing and strike percentage is low, but obviously last year he was pressing, but he still made a lot of contact. So he showed a very aggressive profile in terms of swing percentages, but he still made enough contact to where you're hopeful that he can turn that contact into balls in play and take advantage of his speed. Lots to like here for Brujan. So that's a player, very long-term player to keep an eye on for the Tampa Bay Rays. All right, and finally, the last picks, number 107 to 125. You went with the number 122nd ranked Akil Baddoo. By the way, this is it right here, Austin. This is Cedric Mullins territory. This is where we're looking for that next guy. Cedric Mullins for me was like ranked around, in my personal rankings, was ranked this low in outfield. So we're basically looking for the next Cedric Mullins. Do you believe Akil Baddoo can come close to hitting that?
Cedric Mullins level? No.
Mm-hmm.
But
Cedric Mullins light?
Maybe.
Okay.
I could see Cedric Mullins light. He was a rookie last year. He did have a great rookie season. He had a 113 OPS plus. So there is upside, but there's always that potential of a sophomore slump.
Yeah.
So especially in the big Detroit ballpark that they got out there, it's going to be really hard to, replicate some offense if he's going to, hit it in the air. The good thing is he's almost double-digit walk percentage. He's at 9.8% walk per 9.8% walk, and his strikeout percentage is a little high. He's at 26.5%. But he seems to be a pretty patient hitter. Some pretty low outside the swing percentage. He's in the mid 20 percentile. So I like him. He makes his, he's making contact at a 72% rate last year. So yeah. Hi, Penny.
Say hi, Austin. Say hi. I got my baby here for those who can't see. Yeah, so it's that late in the show when she's in the room. So last guy we're going to talk about is Oscar Mercado, formerly of the Cleveland Guardians. Say bye, Penny.
Hi, Penny.
Let's put her on camera there for the kids. Thank you. Oscar Mercado for the Cleveland Guardians. Let's see here. He is supposed to be a bench piece, but he's only a couple years removed from being a very high upside guy from 2019. In 2019, he had 15 home runs, 15 stolen bases, and he was everybody's darling for the 2020 season. And then for whatever reason, it didn't work. Probably that ginormous strikeout rate of 29%. Last year, he was able to cut down on the strikeouts, improve his walk rate. So that's a step in the right direction, but it just wasn't productive enough. It still hit awful year for him last year in terms of triple slash line, in terms of the counting stats. There was nothing really to point to him and say, hey, he's in a step in the right direction. But in this late in the picks, I mean, he's the 125th outfielder on Cochra's list, and he only ranked 125 outfielders. So this is Mr. Irrelevant here. But the hope is that he can come close to getting to the 2019 numbers, the 15 and 15, along with a close to 270 batting average and a respectable slugging percentage of 443. There was other things about him that I kind of was liking about him. He's a very patient hitter. That was surprising to me. Very patient hitter. Only swings at 26% of pitches outside the strike zone last year. So that's quite remarkable for a guy who was having issues with strikeouts. And what did he do in the minors? Is there anything that will give me hope? Well, 2019 doesn't count. Well, I guess 2018 with the Cardinals. Yeah, he wasn't striking out 30%. I can tell you that much. And a 351 on base percentage, along with 31 stolen bases. That's what it was. It was the 31 stolen bases that had me like, maybe if I'm on Roto League, maybe this is the guy I target at the very, very, very end of draft picks. He does have a problem with playing time, though. He would have to overcome Franmil Reyes. I know he's a DH, but Franmil Reyes, that his natural position would be outfield. And I should probably say natural position with quotes. Let's see, Stephen Kwan, who I've never heard of before, but apparently he is supposed to produce next year for the Guardians, even though the counting stats don't show it, but he's supposed to have a respectable triple slash line. And Bradley Zimmer, who can't stay healthy to save his life, it seems like. And he has a projection of a 306 on base percentage. So is that what you want? Is that what you want from your outfielders? I don't think so. You can also put my Rosario into the mix because he might play some outfield as well. So Oscar Mercado, he might be in there competing, and he's already listed as a platoon player. So he might be a guy who, like, the deepest of deep sleepers here. And that's what it's all about. We're just diamond mining here, Austin. We're digging and we're clawing. We're looking for those guys who can come up and produce one day. So not the big bang I was hoping for here, Austin. As when you're talking about Oscar Mercado, it kind of leaves you wanting more. You know, he's not Vidal Brujan, I could tell you that much, but you know, it's still someone to maybe keep an eye on. And that's a wrap for season 2 of the Total Basis podcast. It started out with Sean, and then we had a plethora of guests, and then we were showing up on other people's podcasts. So that's usually a good sign when other people want you on their podcast, especially with Sean, who was doing some big boy fantasy baseball things over on Twitter. So we'll see what he does for next season as we prepare for the 2022 Major League season. And then we finish with Austin. I almost call you Austin Meadows, and I got to stop doing that. But finish up with Austin Spiro, who has been nice enough to join me as we finish up season 2 of this podcast. We look forward to season 3. Austin says that he'll be back. Is that the case, that you'll be back doing double duty here?
Plan on it.
Yeah, along with your podcast. Well, go ahead and tell people where they can find you.
My podcast is the Round Trippers Podcast. You can find me on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and probably pretty much anywhere that you're going to listen to podcasts. You can also find me in the Baseball Life Facebook group, and then you are going to find me on Jacob Anthony Moses just called me Cole Austin Calhoun.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. For those who don't know, he looks exactly like Cole Calhoun with a hat.
You can also find me on Twitter at round_trippers. You can go ahead and give me a follow, and we can talk some baseball. You can also email me feedback about my show. You can ask me a question or things like that at roundtripperspodcast@gmail.com. So there's that.
And of course, you can find me on Twitter at pathological _ the letter H, the number 8. Thinking of doing a new email account for this show as well. So stay tuned for that. So I'm not going to say anything right now until I get it done. But yeah, I definitely look forward to a new email address for this show so people can chime in. And if you need our help, Austin and I can assist in answering some questions. Maybe I'll have Sean do that for next year in between work shifts that he does at his bread job. Just answer emails, do something. Also, hey, give us a follow, subscribe, give us a rating on the give us a 5-star rating over at Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, wherever you are allowed to make ratings. Give us a 5-star rating, because you're not just helping our podcast, you're also going to be helping out the other podcasts that are part of our life group umbrella. It is definitely a difference here with these life groups here on Facebook. We're a different kind of sports group here. Starting out with Dong City with Henry and Vince, and then the Step Back podcast. That's a personal favorite of mine, because the NBA, I love the NBA, and Jacob and Leah do a marvelous job of covering it, and they've also had me on their show a few times. They're always nice enough to accommodate me when I want to have some basketball thoughts to take out my chest. So I do thank them, and I do thank Jacob for tuning in, subbing in for you last week. As I went in, those guys have been very instrumental in helping be last minute fill-ins in the past. So I do thank them both for being those guys. And also they're my competitors in the life group fantasy baseball podcast, fantasy baseball over at Fantrax. And then the Football Life podcast, The Audible with Matt and Randy, as they're doing whatever it takes during these confusing COVID times. They'll go at night, they'll go in the daytime, whatever it takes to make sure they provide all the football analysis you can handle. And as we march into the NFL playoffs soon, assuming that they don't cancel any games, and just like the NBA, man, players are dropping like flies at this point. Yep. It's kind of scary out there. So get your vaccines, mask up. I just turned off 50% of the audience. I don't care, man. This is something to be taken serious. It's not just a cold. It's not just a flu. I've lost family members because of it. I know Carl Anthony Towns, the basketball player, lost a bunch of his family members because of it. And we've had several of our key life group members also be affected by COVID, including our guy Henry, who suffered through it at the very beginning of the pandemic. So hopefully next year we will have much better results in that regard. And if that's the case, maybe I will one day meet face to face there, Austin, and be able to shake each other's hands as opposed to just fist bumping for safety purposes. So with that said, hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas. We will see you next year. Have a marvelous new year. Take care, everybody.
Have a good one, everybody.